Hey, welcome! In this explainer, we're going to dig into the concept of industry. You hear that word all the time, right? But what does it actually mean? We're going to take a journey from the fiery furnaces of the 20th century all the way to the digital hubs of today.
So let's kick things off with a big question, one that really gets to the core of how our modern world even came to be. What does it actually take to build an entire city from scratch, all centered around just one single industry? I mean, how do you even begin to do something like that?
Well, to answer that, we don't have to guess. We can look at the incredible real-life story of Jamshedpur, a place in India that's literally known as the Steel City. Its story is basically a masterclass in how to build an industrial empire.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It's amazing how quickly this happened. A founder, Jamsetji Tata, picked this spot called Sakshi, and in just a handful of years, transformed it into a powerhouse of production. He wasn't just building a factory, he was planting the seeds for an entire city.
That one decision in 1907 kicked off everything. But that leads to the real question, the one that unlocks the whole story. Why there? Out of all the places in the world, what was so special about that exact spot? So, was it just luck? Not a chance. Turns out, the location wasn't an accident at all. It was a perfectly calculated decision, kind of like following a very specific recipe, and you absolutely had to have all the right ingredients to make it work.
Okay, ingredient number one, raw materials. For making steel, you need iron ore, coal, and limestone, and you need them nearby. Think about it, trying to move tons and tons of heavy, bulky stuff across long distances is a logistical nightmare and super expensive. Having them right next door was a game changer. Next up, you need water, and I mean a ton of it. Big industries like steel manufacturing use massive amounts of water for things like cooling and cleaning. So being right where two rivers meet, yeah, that's like hitting the jackpot.
And of course, to make all this happen, you need power. Lots and lots of power to run all those huge machines. The cool thing here is that the nearby coal fields served double duty. They were a raw material and the fuel source. Talk about an efficient setup, right? But machines don't run themselves. You need people. You need the brain power, the skilled engineers who know how to operate everything. But you also need a massive workforce for all the other jobs that keep a place like this running day in and day out.
All right, and these are the final pieces of the puzzle. You need the capital, the money to get it all started. You need transport, roads and railways to bring things in and ship things out. You need a market, a big city like Kolkata nearby to sell your stuff to. And of course, you need the right kind of land to build it all on. Jamshedpur had it all.
Okay, so that's the why and the where of an industry. Now let's zoom out a bit and look at how we can actually classify any industry out there, using our steel plant example to guide us.
This is super useful. It's basically a framework for understanding any industry you come across. You can break it down in four main ways. What raw materials does it use? Who owns it? How big is it? And what resource does it lean on the most? Money or people?
So if we use this little cheat sheet on our example, the Tata Steel plant, we can give it a really clear identity. It's mineral-based because it uses iron ore. It's in the private sector because it's owned by individuals. It's obviously large scale. And it's what we call capital intensive, which is a fancy way of saying it takes a huge amount of money to run. And let's just double click on that size thing for a second, because the difference is pretty dramatic. On one hand, you've got large-scale industries like a steel plant. We're talking massive investment, advanced technology. And on the complete other end of the spectrum, you have small-scale or cottage industries like pottery, where skilled artisans are creating products by hand. So what's actually going on inside the factory gates? You might be surprised to learn that whether it's a giant steel mill or a tiny workshop, every single industry follows the exact same fundamental system. It all boils down to this simple three-step flow. It's like a dance. First, you have the inputs. That's all those location factors we were just talking about. Then you have the processes, the actual work, like smelting, that turns the raw stuff into something new. And finally, you get the outputs, the finished product, and hopefully some profit. And that middle step, the process, whoa, it can get really intense. In steelmaking, for example, the process of smelting involves heating iron ore in a blast furnace to over 1,500 degrees Celsius. That's unbelievably hot, but it's what you've got to do to get the pure metal out. And here's where it all connects, which is so cool. The output of one industry, steel in this case, becomes the essential input for tons of other industries. I mean, think about it.
Cars, ships, buildings, all sorts of machinery, they all need steel to exist. It's why they call it the backbone of modern industry. It literally holds everything else up. So this system created these huge industrial regions all across the globe. But times are changing. A completely new type of industry is emerging, and it's shifting our world's focus away from steel and towards silicon. And that brings us to what are called sunrise industries. These are the new kids on the block, the emerging, fast-growing sectors like information technology or knowledge and business process outsourcing that are really shaping our future. And they are playing by a whole new rule book. This right here shows you just how different the game is now. A steel plant has to be near its raw materials. An IT company, its most important factor is being near a skilled workforce. Its input isn't iron ore, it's data and knowledge. And its output isn't a physical bar of steel, it's software or service. This changes everything about what makes a city successful today. Which leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. Steel was without a doubt the backbone of the 20th century. But as we look forward, which of these new sunrise industries is going to be the backbone of our century? What's going to be the foundation that we build our future on?